Hey, I am your girl, Athena Stewart, founder and CEO of the Spiritual Growth Academy. Super excited to be launching this new course called the Strategy Guide for the Future and Beyond. We're really going to be doing kind of like a story time deep dive into Rules of Engagement by Cindy Trim. We're also going to be studying more text on spiritual laws and principles because they really go hand in hand. So I'm really excited about this particular course or journey that we are getting ready to kind of embark on, because it is really going to be something super exciting. The strategy guide for the future and beyond. I'm super stoked. I'm going to bring it up a little bit bigger so you can see it, but we have already started developing this or cooking this in the SGA lab. So it is very exciting to be going into something that really is going to help us develop and mature spiritually. So I really want to walk you through module 1 outline, or what I like to call the 5 strategies for 2023 and beyond. The 5 strategies for 2023 and beyond. Here we're able to see the 5 strategies that I really think if we can grasp as a people, that we can truly begin to look at different aspects of our lives, different aspects of our ventures, etc. into 2023. Strategy number 1, I think, is really amazing. If we can learn to master these aspects of ourselves, both in the natural and the spiritual. Number 1 is to assess situations and circumstances accurately based on spiritual laws and principles. Now, I love this one because it really sets up an opportunity for us to learn how to walk into 2023 life circumstances, situations, and seasons totally different, totally prepared, completely with our eyes open, right? When we learn how to assess situations, it means that we're not going to have maybe some of the knee-jerk reactions we've had in 2022, right? Or maybe we're not going to be motivated or to be initiated in responding based on our emotions or based on intrusive thoughts of the circumstance or situation. But the other fine piece that really stood out to me as I've been studying this material is the spiritual laws and principles. I don't think that that's really shared on a bigger scale or on a deeper dive. I think that it's talked about. I think that there are studies out there. I just don't know that we are diving into them based on relevance for what we may be experiencing or going through. And so I'm really excited about this course because it's not only going to look at many different strategies for our lives, and which I say 3 areas: relationship, finance, and health, but also the principles and laws by which things are controlled, managed, and maintained, right? And so we're going to really do a deep dive in many different areas when it comes to strategy and prayer, when it comes to strategy in what we release into the atmosphere, strategy on changing our perception and perspective, ideology, and mindset. And so I'm super stoked about that. Strategy number 2 is to recognize and identify the presence and activities of principalities and their subordinate spirits. We're really going to break this down as well. Recognizing and identifying the presence and activity, right? So we're going to learn how to be more aware. And there are going to be some practices that we're going to learn to do throughout this course that is going to develop that muscle of awareness, that ability of awareness. And then the presence and activity of these different principalities and other things that we struggle with that we may not necessarily focus on, look at, think about. We're going to really break down these different entities based on their characteristics, based on their responsibilities, and based on how they carry out those responsibilities. If you don't know about the enemy, if you don't know about the opposition, if you don't know or you're not informed on things that play part in your lives, right? Then how can you be aware or even identify their presence? And so it's going to be super important that we break these down. And I think Cindy Trim in this particular study has done an amazing job at really giving us a foundation by which we can expand on by exploring not only her words, but the word of God and breaking that down. Looking even at the lower ranking spirits, which I think is super important. I feel, and I said this on my wisdom talk yesterday, I feel like we have become, in a sense, like ostriches, right? We have become sometimes the people that put their heads in the sand and really don't care to do the deeper dive or dig below the surface, because either it takes too much time, it takes too much work, it'll put us in an uncomfortable position, or it'll make us choose. And so we try to walk away from that. So my prayer through this course is that we will be able to look at these deeper things objectively, but also from a different ideology, mindset, and perspective of necessity for 2023 and beyond. And so I'm super excited to really break this down. I've noticed even in my prayer time, I've noticed even in when I'm not feeling well or when I feel like I'm being challenged by something, I find myself wanting to know the characteristics and the identity of those things that are present that are creating either this emotional response or creating even this particular situation, right? And so when you increase the capacity of your understanding, you're then able to really operate on a higher level, on a deeper level, on a more methodical, strategic level. And to me, I think that's priceless. All right, strategy number 3. Because we know how to assess situations and circumstances based on spiritual laws and principles that manifest themselves in the natural, we're then going to be able to recognize and identify the presence of those things that play negative roles within our season, situation, and circumstances. And strategy number 3, we're going to be able to sever the root causes of satanic, which is extremely evil or wicked influences and demonic activities. And we know that influences can determine how we move on a certain situation or circumstance, or how we show up, right? Or how we end strong or well, depending on what that is. And so we're going to break down how to sever those root causes, going to their origin. How do they how are they created? Where do they evolve from? At what point was access gained? And how do we remove that, right? To sever the root means that it'll be something that will no longer have or carry the weight or power that it may have had in 2022. We won't take that over or continue to move in that in 2023. Number 4, strategy number 4, we're going to learn to gain and maintain spiritual authority over regions and territories. This is super important as we go into a new year, because we know life changes, right? As we move into new days, new months, new years, changes happen. Those could be changes in our jobs. Those could be changes in our relationships. Those could be changes in our finances, the locations, and things of that nature. And so we want to learn how not only to gain new territory within new regions, new opportunities, but we want to learn how to maintain what's working well for us in 2022 and well into 2023 and beyond. And so there is an authority that we have access to that needs to be developed or understood, so that we can utilize that to its best potential for our lives in 2023. And last but not least, strategy number 5 is to gain and regain control over our lives, our relationships, our ministries, and even our businesses, whether we have created them or whether we are going to create them. This one really speaks to me when it comes to the Spiritual Growth Academy on regaining, right? Regaining control over my business, because this is something that I've been building and working on for many, many years. And with transition and with move, I've really allowed myself to draw away from it, where now the attention is back on it, as well as other opportunities that I see happening in 2022. And again, this can be in many different areas. I always say we have 3 areas of our lives: our relationships, our finances, and our health. And those are areas where the enemy really comes for or after us to try to manipulate or control. And so I'm super excited about this, and I'm super excited about the opportunity to really break this down, and to really give others an opportunity to scratch deeper than the surface on things of the spirit that really play a huge part in the natural. And so I feel like this is going to be a really exciting opportunity for us to be able to do a deep dive into not only the different strategies that we need for 2023 as believers in our day-to-day practically, but also what I'm super excited about is also the spiritual principles and laws. And what is super exciting about that is it just opens up such another paradigm shift in the mindset as a believer of how spiritual principles and laws play such a huge part in our day-to-day decisions. I was in prayer even this morning, and God had been showing me a sequence of numbers. And as I was praying, I had got my journal, and I wrote down on my journal, and I share this with you guys a lot, words from God. And that's the one thing that I write at the very top, even when I start praying, because I do that as a faith-based action of intentionality, right? And expectation that I'm going to expect to hear something from God during this session. And so as I was going into prayer, Holy Spirit had brought back to my awareness the number sequences that He had showed me throughout the day, and that I needed to really kind of dive into that. And so as I did that, it just opened up this Pandora's box of information and insight of what He was really trying to give to me this morning in prayer. And it was an accumulation of things that I had already ingested, whether I was reading, whether I was listening, or whether I was seeing faith-based content that really spoke to what He was trying to communicate to me. And so one of those things were on a particular spiritual law, and it was a spiritual law of connection. The spiritual, and I'm gonna look at this because I want to get this right. But I was studying this morning the spiritual law of connection and association, and how these two laws play such a significant part of what I'm looking to do in 2023. Had I not been studying the spiritual laws and principles of the kingdom, I would have not had that insight or the ability to tap into that knowledge of spiritual laws, such as connection, spiritual laws of association, and so many more that we're going to dive into this course. So I am super stoked and excited about this course, about this opportunity that we have to really do deep dive and deep study in the things of God. So I hope you guys join me, and I look forward to seeing you within the SGA course. Bye now.